A few weeks ago, I talked about how ESPN and Fox are about to change cable TV forever. And not enough people are talking about that. I think that was the title of the video. I still think not enough people are talking about that. But there's even more drama in that situation. Because ESPN announced their ESPN Unlimited streaming service, where you'll be able to subscribe to stream ESPN and all the ESPN channels a la carte for I think like $30 or $40 a month. Very cool. But not long after that, ESPN also announced that they will be bringing Rich Eisen's show. I think it's a radio show or a podcast. I think it's a radio show. They'll be bringing the Rich Eisen show to ESPN Plus, broadcasting and streaming live. Now, what's interesting about this is that ESPN actually already has a very large podcast. What? Airing on ESPN. What? Censored on ESPN, but streaming and broadcasting uncensored on ESPN Plus. What? This is the Pat McAfee Show. And and you can tell, you know, with all the what's and stuff, I've sort of gotten into Pat McAfee since he joined ESPN. If he ever leaves ESPN, I think I will continue to watch his show. But, you know, I actually never heard of him until he joined ESPN. Then as soon as he joined, I started listening to him, and I'm like, this guy's magnetic. This is great. But it seems like people are speculating that he might get booted from ESPN and replaced or preempted by Rich Eisen's broadcast. The first big personality I saw speak about that was actually Jason Whitlock. You know, very few situations in which I would actually watch Jason Whitlock at this point, because he's just a professional hater. That's his job. But I watched the video, and it seemed like he was making some legitimate points. And some of the points that he brought up were actually brought up here in this article from Awful Announcing, where I read more details about this. Apparently, Pat McAfee has responded to this. Now, I haven't seen the segment yet. I will be reacting to the segment here because it's embedded here in this article. But this is what the article is called. It says, Pat McAfee questions if ESPN is sending him a message with Rich Eisen's return. We have responses as well. Pat McAfee likes Rich Eisen. He may have even played a role in helping him bring the former SportsCenter star back to ESPN. But when it came to the news that Eisen is taking his eponymous daily show to the worldwide leader's direct-to-consumer streaming service this fall, McAfee admittedly has some questions, especially considering that both of their shows air at the exact same time. Right, yep, because Pat McAfee show airs from noon to 2 on ESPN, and then noon to a little bit longer than 2 on ESPN Plus and YouTube. Could be 2:30, could be 3 p.m. Depends on what's going on. Yeah, basically the schedule is the same. And actually, you know what? I'm just gonna play the clip because I was planning on playing the clip anyways. But here is the clip.
Learned Rich Eisen's coming back to ESPN.
Yeah,
Shout out Rich.
Rich.
It's been a
We
while.
love Rich. 20-some years.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of
Welcome
Rich
back,
Eisen.
Rich.
Rich has been very nice to me, very cool to me.
Thanks.
He's going live noon to 3, I believe, Eastern on ESPN Plus.
Good time slot.
Disney Plus. Respect. I
Can't
guess.
watch.
Yeah, I don't know. That feels very interesting, but also love Rich Eisen. So
Yeah.
I am cool with whatever. That's a fascinating thing. Nonetheless, the ESPN flagship.
Now, I wonder, because some people are speculating that Pat McAfee is worried that he might get replaced on ESPN. Now, I did some digging. It seems like Pat McAfee's show is safe on ESPN for at least the next few years because he's got a multi-year deal for the Pat McAfee show on ESPN. I wouldn't be shocked, though, to see, because right now the schedule is, I think, Pat McAfee show from noon to 2 on ESPN, and then from 2 to 3, it's like ESPN Sports Center or like NFL Live or something. Wouldn't be shocked to see them put the third hour of the Rich Eisen show from 2 to 3. That could certainly work. But I think actually seeing his body language and how he's speaking, I actually wonder if this is mostly Pat McAfee being friends with Rich Eisen, not wanting to be in the position of competing with someone who is his friend and someone who he looks up to, because that can make things get very salty, very testy, and very adversarial very quickly. You can have a friendly rivalry, but it's not as easy to do if you're not having direct competition like this, especially at your own at the same company, right? Because even if ESPN doesn't boot Pat McAfee from ESPN right now, which I don't think they can, who knows? maybe in the few years when it's time for renegotiations, the Pat McAfee Show gets removed from ESPN and is moved just to ESPN Plus. That is a possibility. But let's continue to hear more of what he has to say.
That's about to be launched. I think it's going to have everything that ESPN has. $29.99 a month, all to find in one area. Good luck to everybody and all parties involved there. And shout out to Rich Eisen coming back, one of the men who built, ESPN, especially alongside of his Sports Center run back in the day. First ever hire for NFL Network, Rich Eisen. Yep, wow. On-air hire. Yeah, so, he's been there, done that, coming back to ESPN feels like a full circle moment. Noon 3 is fascinating for sure. Is that a message? I don't know, but yeah, cool, whatever. But nonetheless, we're happy Rich is back. We're excited that ESPN is launching this flagship thing. And $29.99, I'll be excited to see who all... because I think that's the game.
Yep.
That's the game, is trying to figure out what people value, what they don't value. I assume it'll all work out.
What are they going to call it? Sorry.
I don't know.
I believe it's just called ESPN.
The service, they're calling the service ESPN, but they got packages in there. There's going to be like, what's it called? What are they called? Okay, so there are two plans. There's ESPN Unlimited, which is the main one. And then there's going to be ESPN Select, which is basically just ESPN Plus. So ESPN Unlimited is the service that they're talking about. It's technically just called ESPN, but not really. It's kind of weird how they decided to do the branding and naming for all that.
I don't think there is like a big grandiose name or anything.
I'm happy to hear that because I think they were trying to figure out a name there for a bit, and no matter what you go with, it's not going to be more synonymous with ESPN than ESPN.
Yes. Correct.
Yeah. So I'm not privy to those conversations, but I will say good luck to all the people that are involved.
Are we on it?
That's good.
I think so. They said we were. I don't know if that'll be a conversation for a different day, but right. I think we're going to be on there.
Cool.
Yeah, they did say that literally everything that's on ESPN Plus and everything that's on ESPN, all of the networks, every single one is going to be on there, which is, I'm excited about that. I'm very happy about that because as a college football fan, this means I'm going to have access to the SEC network, ESPNU, and ACC network, which like as someone who's big into college sports, if you give me a streaming service that has ESPNU, ACC network and SEC network and doesn't have ESPN or doesn't have ESPN2, especially year round when it's outside of college football season, I'll take that. I'll take that because I don't know. I just grew up always being into college sports and not really following pro sports as much. So the fact that they're including that and not forcing folks to pay more or separating things out in different tiers like you often see with cable, like if you got like Sling TV or whatever, it's cheaper than cable, but I think you'd probably still be paying like $60, $70, $80 a month if you want to get all of those other ESPN channels versus now just paying $30 a month just for the ESPN channels. So that's very cool. But the way that they worded that made me think that, yes, the Pat McAfee Show is going to be included. It'd be very strange if they made ESPN Unlimited have everything except for the Pat McAfee Show and it's just blacked out. It's like, oh, you're in the Pat McAfee blackout. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I think they're going to be included.
So we're... That's Sam.
You got choices right there. This one or this one.
I respect it. Just like the NFL Live crew,
Oh yeah, the NFL Live crew, right? From 2 to 3. Yeah, that's what I was referring to. Yeah, right. Competing with them for the third hour of the show.
Free agency frenzy day.
That's right.
Hey, counter program us. It's all good.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, we like it. That's how we like it, actually.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers might learn, but we do like it, and we have responses as well.
I just wish we could watch Rich's show.
Bingo. We haven't been able to watch it for years. So whenever I heard, and I might have been a part of even that entire thing potentially coming back. I don't know who wants to tell stories and what stories will be told of it all. But it's like, as soon as I read on Schefter's tweet that it's noon to 3, I'm like, so we can't have him on the show.
We could do a collab
Can't
hour.
have him on the show and also can't do it.
Collab would be cool.
All right. Joining us now.
Having the first 30 minutes of like Rich Eisen being with ESPN, like having them both collabing would be awesome. That'd be so cool. But yeah, this whole situation is very interesting, and I'm gonna give a hot take here. I'm gonna give a hot take, especially, and this is gonna be a hot take as someone who likes the Pat McAfee Show. I'm relatively new, right, to watching Pat McAfee Show, but I have been watching here and there, especially during college football season. Since he's joined ESPN. And I gotta say, I think that Pat McAfee is not a great fit for the ESPN channel. He's his show is a better fit for either ESPN Plus. I think he's perfect for ESPN Plus, or ESPN News, right? Which is kind of like a buried channel, because Pat McAfee curses so much on his show. Like he's toned it down since he's joined, but he still curses like a lot. And that alone would be like fine, because you've got editors who could go in and bleep and stuff and put in delays, and Pat McAfee said they were going to do that. But I was listening to him doing like a WWE event with like Hulk Hogan and some other folks, and there were a lot of curse words that did not get cut. They came through, and I'm like, man, he's got to be in trouble with the FCC for this. Like ESPN must be upset that they let that slip and they let that slide, because I think in general, folks are starting to get more comfortable with explicit language on like talk television, especially with the advent of Donald Trump becoming president. But still, it's kind of a lot. I think that a more polished show that came straight from radio, like the Rich Eisen Show, is a better fit for ESPN proper. So I even wouldn't be mad if the show got kicked off of ESPN, they hot swapped it for Rich Eisen, and Rich Eisen, his show got put on ESPN. Now, I've had my own thoughts about how ESPN schedules and prioritizes their talk television shows, and there's probably enough material there for me to do a completely separate video about that, so I'm not going to talk about that here. But just a hot take. If Pat McAfee's show gets booted from ESPN, I would not be upset. I would not be crying. I would miss it for sure, but I'm just going to watch it on YouTube or ESPN Plus. Right? And I would respect that move, because I think it just better fits with the brand to have someone who doesn't curse as much, isn't as explicit, isn't as occasionally lewd and grotesque with the analogies and the jokes that are being made. I just think it makes more sense for someone just a little bit more prim and proper be on ESPN Plus. I wish Pat McAfee all the best. I hope he continues to have success, but that's just me calling it how I see it. I like the guy. I want to root for him, but I just would not be surprised if they replace him. But not yet. For now, I think he's safe, and I think he should be safe.